Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir et bienvenue à notre émission Forum communautaire. L'émission qui vous promet d'être toujours à l'avant-garde de l'actualité, la politique, l'économie, l'éducation, la science, la santé, la loi et le divertissement. Forum communautaire est une émission télévisée tous les dimanches de 4h30 à 5h30 sur Cuenca Vision, WCEA, chaîne 58, Comcast 729. Notre ambition, c'est d'être vos yeux, vos pieds ainsi que vos oreilles, espérant de partager avec vous le meilleur. Pour vos publicités, questions, commentaires et suggestions, consultez-nous au 617 839 71 91 ou par courrier électronique jean-claude_sanon@yahoo.com. D'ores et déjà, nous vous souhaitons une bonne audition. Nous allons passer à une courte pause publicitaire.
Avant-garde. Nous devons toujours à l'avant-garde. Pour ou même qu'à l'avant-garde, consultez Jean-Claude Sanon n'importe qui est dans 617 839 71 91. Toujours à l'avant-garde avec Jean-Claude Sanon, nous offrons tout service immigration avec accident. Nous remplissons toute forme, nous mettons en forme. L'aide pour toute occasion ou circonstance. Interprétation médicale légale, qu'un docteur dans l'hôpital, qu'un avocat dans le tribunal, sans compter immigration. Traduction toute qualité papier, certificat, acte de naissance, de mariage, de décès.
Service de traduction, c'est même joie. L'aide pour demande de visa devant ambassade, discours, docteur public, officier d'état civil pour marier ou.
Real estate, vendre à acheter caille, mettre cérémonie pour toute occasion, c'est Jean-Claude Sanon. Non affilié à un bureau avocat en Haïti qui travaille serré à Archives nationales et tribunal. Service vite passé vent pour jugement acte de naissance tardive, acte de naissance tenant lieu, acte de décès, acte de divorce. Nous fait divorce tout sans qu'on pas besoin de payer ticket pour l'Haïti. Acte d'adoption, acte de mariage, civil ou religieux, extrait acte de naissance et de mariage, rapido presto, bon bagage sans problème devant immigration reconnu par l'État haïtien. Sans faux pas, consultez Avant-garde. Jean-Claude Sanon dans 617 839 71 91.
Nous opérons seulement sur rendez-vous dans le nouveau local, numéro 11 Rexford Street, Mattapan, Mass.
Mes amis, mais James, il était étonné pour l'apprendre que tension li gros. Ça qui a fait il fait tension. Qui donc, il était parlé avec docteur au sujet d'un chemin qui bon pour santé pour baisser tension. Il était suspend de fumer, ça qui fait une grosse différence dans les gens qu'elle bat en général. Il diminue quantité sel tout et puis si veille étiquette sous manger qui indiquait gros quantité sel. En plus de ça, il mange 30 minutes 5 fois par semaine régulièrement. Tout bagage ça qui bon pour santé, pas de facile. Même baisser tension, t'es vos efforts si là. Joindre plus d'informations concernant chemin qui bon pour santé ça, pour joindre aide pour casser suspend de fumer, relais 1-800 784 46 69.
It is always, and I am insisting on this because I'll tell you one thing, that's one of the things that I have the most fun out of is when I come here to welcome you with an open arm and especially with a great smile on my face. It's a sign that shows that life is good. We are alive, thank God, and we are happy to be here on the bridge together with you. You understood the purpose of the bridge, which is brought to you by MCTV, Radio Concorde, Info80.net, Forum Communautaire, as well as Radio Concorde. We are here to serve you, and the purpose of the bridge is to bring people on it so they can help make it stronger and build it forward so that we could have a path forward to life. We normally bring you activists, politicians, entertainers, but how about business owners, business consultants, young people who are doing very good into the community. And sometimes when they come from far, a lot of you probably don't get to know them. So we got to bring them here on the bridge so you get to recognize them, know what they're doing and what they're about to. Especially they have a pathway in life that could be very amazing for you to learn so much about. It is not a politician that I have today. I have a young man that I have met throughout my tenure in terms of activism, and once I saw in him all the potential that he has, I said, wait a minute, we got to bring him on board because he could certainly serve as a role model to a lot of you who are watching. Je dis à m'a tout dit nous que sont haïtiens que nous gagnons là, c'est pas un américain, l'anglais capable lou c'est vrai, nous allons parler en grande majorité ensemble avec lui en anglais et c'est lui-même que nous allons entretien avec lui. Non lui c'est Marvin Mathelier. Oui, on va penser avec famille Mathelier, guitariste là, on va penser avec peintre là, etc., etc. Cependant, Marvin est sorti loin pour venir atterrir là, dans la cour Boston. C'est lui-même qui a gagné la journée aujourd'hui ensemble avec nous. Mais nous rappelons que dans l'entretien ça, nous pas fouiller les zones à Kalalou ensemble avec lui. So we're going to go a little bit deep because some young folks who have arrived in here, folks don't know their adventure, and we have a Marine in the house. We have all of that, so we're going to talk with Marvin Mathelier. Home, I'm going to say welcome to you, my brother. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot
so
for
much. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on this show. I know we've been working to find the time for me to be on it, but I'm glad that our time was able to align, and I'm glad to be here. This is amazing.
Marvin, throughout my expectations, I didn't line up a group of questions for you.
Okay.
But I'm going to pick up your brain in terms of who is Marvin, what Marvin has done, and where is Marvin going right now.
Absolutely.
So you could probably roll the clock back a little bit for everyone who's watching you, and for parents who are watching you, and the young people who are also watching you right now. Tell us a little bit about Marvin.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, who is Marvin Mathelier, and where is he going? I could definitely give you a background of who I am, but I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going. But we could talk more about that as well.
Sure.
So, Marvin Mathelier, born in Brooklyn, New York, to two Haitian immigrants who wanted to come here and find a better life for their children. I have an older sister; she's 8 years older than me, and we grew up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, during the Crown Heights riot. Right, and you
Under
know,
the reign of who was mayor at that time?
oh my gosh, geez, why would you do that? What was I? I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Okay, so you not remember.
Oh, geez,
You
yeah.
not
Good
remember.
call.
Okay,
I should remember this.
Yeah.
What am I thinking? Denkins, but I probably have to take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know, it was a pretty rough time for my family, but again, you know, knowing that education is first and it's very important, you know, they pour that into their children, which of course I'm trying to do with my two girls as well too. So, you know, born in Brooklyn, born in Crown Heights, a very diverse community, felt like it was an extension of the Caribbean. We had different flavors of West Indians as well. Living in an Orthodox Jewish area, that was my first experience of diversity at its finest, where, you know, we weren't close to the Orthodox Jews, but we knew how to coexist with each other, right? On top of that too, living in Brooklyn, born and raised there, my parents, they had the opportunity to send me to public school, but again, education being imprinted in their mind, they sent me to Catholic private school in Manhattan, right? So, you know, me having to commute every single day for about 45 minutes, whether my dad was driving me to school or taking a train, that was part of my upbringing. So did Catholic school for about 8 years. Let's just go ahead and fast forward. I think a lot of Haitian parents, they drive into their children about education, but not only that, trying to find a profession that could say, hey, you know what, I want you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. I kind of went the other way, right? So I remember back in high school, we moved out to Freeport, Long Island. After Brooklyn, I found this organization in high school called the Naval Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, so NJROTC. And essentially it's providing information to high school students about the military. Not trying to get them in the military, but providing them about that and trying to teach them about leadership at a young age, right? And one of my instructors, my teacher, a Marine as well, I get a little bit choked up because I just found out he passed away this week.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Appreciate it. Master Sergeant Jose Colon, this well of a man in his Marine Corps uniform standing right in front of me. And I said, you know what? I want to join the Marine Corps. Imagine telling my parents that their son wanted to
your
join the Marine
Haitian
Corps.
parents
My Haitian
accepting this. Let me tell you, you're not far from the tree at all, because I was just 18 years of age, graduating from English High, and one of my requirements that I had said, I was tell my parents that I was going to join the Army, and it was the roof went off.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And I regret it until today, I must admit.
Yeah, it was a big thing, but you know, talking to my parents, they will call the Master Sergeant and say, hey, try to change my son's mind. He shouldn't do this, so on and so forth. I remember the Master Sergeant, which for his career progression, he didn't go to college. He went straight from high school. He went to the Marine Corps, and then he did his whole career. I remember him and his wife, who I was really close with as well. I saw them as my second set of parents. They sat down with me, and they said, Marvin, if you want to join the Marine Corps, that's your prerogative. Talk to your parents about this, but I think you need to take a detour first before joining the Marine Corps. I think you should go to college.
I see.
And I kind of rolled my eyes like, okay, of course. But they made it. They said not just a regular college, traditional college. You should look at going to a military college.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I ended up at a military college in Vermont called Norwich University. I still wear the ring. It's it's a big thing for us. And I was there for 4 years. Again, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, living out in the suburbs in Freeport, Long Island. The closest thing that I knew about a rural area was Central Park and Prospect Park. I ended up in Vermont, in the middle of nowhere in Vermont.
I know.
A handful of black kids like myself there. Mind-opening experience. But I stayed there for 4 years, gained a lot of leadership lessons that I still have in me right now. And I commissioned and became a Marine officer. The difference between an enlisted and a Marine officer is that as a Marine officer at the age of 22 or 23, I already have a command of about potentially 20 to 30 to 50 Marines that have more experience than I do, that have been on more deployments.
Because of the college that you have attended.
Right, because of me getting my bachelor's degree,
Okay.
becoming commissioned as an officer, they already put that responsibility on me, saying, hey, per the pleasure of the President of the United States, you are a commissioned young second lieutenant.
Wow.
We're going to go through additional training and then understand your specialty, but then once you're said and done with that, then you will have the potential and the responsibility to be leading up to 30 or 40 Marines. So I had that opportunity. I was a platoon commander. I deployed to Afghanistan back in 2010 as an artillery forward observer. So I was with the infantry forward deployed, which is an experience that I would never change. But if you ask me, would I do it again? Absolutely not.
You would not.
Absolutely not. But it helped me
Because of
continue
the
to grow.
risk and the danger that it
Because of the risk and because of the danger, absolutely. But then while I was in Afghanistan, what was also amazing was that I had the opportunity to meet a lot of the people there. I had the opportunity to interact with the kids and so on and so forth. So that type of relationship and understanding and rapport building also helped me understand that, hey, this is worth fighting for, because these kids and these children, we need to go ahead and help them continue to progress through.
Now, speaking of Afghanistan,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to cut you
No,
short
absolutely.
from progressing, because I think we're going to, whatever that I can pick out of, especially with the Army situations, I think I want to elaborate a little bit on it.
Yeah.
But while in Afghanistan, and you've seen what was going on and so on and so forth, having to fight these guys was probably the worst nightmare, because since the Russian could not be successful, and the world thus far could ever be successful, and the end result is what we just seen.
Yep.
Do you think that it was a smart decision when the Biden administration had decided to pull out?
So I would love to answer that. Well, I was going to go ahead and say currently I'm still a reservist in
Okay,
the
so
Marine
you
Corps.
have no right upon answering such a question.
Yes.
Now, joining the Army, for Haitian parents who are watching right now and who are listening to you, seeing a young man potentially to be their own sons, how would you convince them to really grant the opportunity to the kids when they made such a decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's a great question. And I've ran into a lot of, students of color, coming up to me, and their parents also coming up to me and asking me, hey, why did you join, and what's the reason behind it? Because my child is interested in joining. Before I even give my response on why I joined, I always ask them, what do they want out of the military? I think that's a very crucial and important question, because that will drive you on what success look like for you once you're at the end of your term, whether you want to make a career or not out of it, right? So if someone's saying, hey, I want the leadership experience, or I want to be able to, after 4 years, once I'm done, use that money to go ahead and go to school, or, I want to make a full, absolutely. from there, that could help me go ahead and say, hey, if you're looking at, using the funds, the military could go ahead and help you out with that. If you're looking at leadership experience, absolutely, you could definitely get that in the Marine Corps or in the military, whether as an officer where right off the bat, you'll be leading, service members, or, in the enlisted side, you'll get that, but eventually you have to be a follower first and then be able to get to that point, right?
So there's a diverse list of opportunities that is being offered, so it's up to one to really make the best advantage of it.
Exactly.
And I understood that there is future also advantages, such as beside the educations, if you intend to purchase a home, they'll help you out with
Bingo.
that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what, so, and I'm glad you brought that up. So that's when I'll start talking about my experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I use the post 9/11 GI Bill in order for me to go to business school to get my MBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking at using a fraction of that left
Mm-hmm.
because I'm thinking about going back to school for my master's in public administration.
Okay.
Again, trying to figure out what Marvin looks like in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that too, I also used it for me to gain access to a mortgage so I could be able to purchase a home. So there are those opportunities. I think the biggest thing that a lot of candidates, especially of color, especially like me, what we struggle with at times, and if I had sit down with quite a few, is, this is an unfortunate conversation, but it is true in the society that we live in. Why wear a uniform where the system is against us, where we are treated different?
So you would agree with the famous boxer Muhammad Ali, who just skipped out of town,
Yeah.
and he was in total disagreement with the government in terms of, why should I fight for you when you are discriminating against me, while the guy that you are fighting against, I have no issue or no beef with.
Yeah.
That's understandable, and
Yeah.
I won't judge anybody making such a decision.
Absolutely.
It's part of their own.
Absolutely.
But being in the Army has some pros and cons also.
Yes, big
And
ones.
most parents are very often terrified with the fact that when they see the casket is coming back home,
Hmm.
what do you say to them?
So those are good questions. As in full transparency, I'm a business consultant. I work for a civilian company, but I'm still a reservist right now in the Marine Corps. My reserve unit's down in Florida, and I'm a commander. I'm a detachment commander, and my rank is a major, right?
Mhm.
So I do have Marines that's under my command currently as we speak. I've been fortunate enough where, unfortunately, I've had other peers of mine who's lost Marines, and I've been fortunate enough where I have not lost Marines. I've seen Marines, unfortunately, die in front of me, but I wasn't one to have that conversation with those parents, and I would never wish that for anyone, and I can't imagine what my peers would have to go through to have those conversations.
But it's true, sometimes even right there in the street of United States,
Yeah,
things like this do happen.
Yeah.
The bad news do come home and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. But as far as the opportunities that are also being offered, I think it's tremendous. And, I could not encourage any of my boys to really do it, nor my girls to do it. But however, I think it's tied up with so much help
yeah.
as far as rescuing the young people from really getting ahead in life. So.
I will say this too, and again, the military, that's a path that someone needs to go ahead and find themselves and say, hey, this is where I want to go on, right? This is not something that you should just go ahead and say, hey, right off the bat, I want to go ahead and join this. There must be a lot of research that needs to be done, and you got to make sure that deep down inside, you're not fooling yourself on the reason why you want to join it. I just want to make that fair. Now, going back to my parents and them being like, what are you doing, Marvin? You need to become a doctor, a lawyer, so on and so forth. I'm becoming a Marine officer. This day, right now, talking to my parents, they are super proud of my accomplishments because they understand.
Is it the major that they're super proud of?
Oh yeah, they just run around and be like, my son is a major, Major Mathelier, look at him, he's going to become a lieutenant colonel. Hopefully he become. But they're super proud of that. But they also know the work I had to do to get to that point. And I remember talking to my mom a couple weeks ago because now I have a daughter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if she goes to summer camp? I don't know how I'll deal with her being away for like a week or two, right? And then this brought me back to when I was going through my Marine officer training. It's kind of like my boot camp down in Quantico, Virginia. And that weekend, I found out my girlfriend broke up with me. I was heartbroken, and I knew that I had to go back to training, get my phone away. But in my mind was like, my girlfriend broke up with me. This is bad. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm crying. My mom didn't want me to be down. My parents didn't want me to be down here anyway. So I called my mom up. I had like 3 minutes before I had to put my phone away, and then I couldn't talk for them for the rest of the week. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to be here. I want to drop out. If you drop out, that's a big deal. And my mom, she said, you're not dropping out. You are not dropping out. I am not coming down there. You're not dropping out. You're not quitting. At the end of the training, if you don't want to do this anymore, that's fine. But just because your girlfriend broke up, that is not why you're quitting.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I tell my mom, I'm like, thank you so much for doing that.
That was good moral values.
Yeah. But then, they see all the leadership I've done. They see all the management I've done. You know what I mean? And they've seen how the military has taken me to where I am in the civilian sector. Again,
things that they probably could not instill on you.
Absolutely. So me being a management consultant, me being able to get my MBA, my master's in business administration, the reason why I was able to do that was because of my foundation, right? From my family, right? But then also including the military as well, that progressed me to where I am right now with my MBA and so on and so forth, and me continue on in the reserves.
Okay. So from the Army, certainly you had an opportunity and a chance also to see the world. That's another advantage.
Absolutely,
a lot of folks. How was that experience?
It's good. I mean, again, I told you about my Afghanistan experience. Again, great experience. We'll never want to do that again. But I've also went to Okinawa, Japan for training out there. A couple years ago, I went to Guyana for some training out there as well too. Just recently, I was in Haiti for about close to a month. Because of the past earthquake in the summer.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I was out there working with the U.S. Embassy down there and with a lot of Haitian partners, right? Which was, to me, the best experience ever I've had in the Marine Corps.
Was that your first time being in Haiti? Or?
Oh, no. That was my first time working in a government capacity in Haiti. But growing up, I felt like for 3 years straight, my parents, they would just say, here's your bags, kick me on a plane, and send me down there.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but how did you manage getting to Haiti during those days, and especially from the last trip that you had, taking your government business in terms of language?
Yeah. So it was a bit difficult. Right? I would just say this. Again, as a kid, I understand Creole, but as a kid, I always respond back in English. But then I remember my first trip, I'd go into Haiti by myself. My cousins would talk to me in Creole, and then I was about to respond and be like, oh, yo pas comprendre anglais, so me besoin parler Creole avec yo. But I wasn't able to speak Creole at that time, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I had to quickly learn. As a kid, you pick up quickly.
Okay.
Fast forward now in a professional setting, talking about with the government, there's more capacity for there to be multiple languages at the table, right?
I see.
So then you have people that speak English, you have people that speak Creole, you have people that speak French as well, so that we're making sure that we're communicating effectively with each other.
Okay.
I do remember one time I had it was the Minister of Health. We were doing we had a couple of field tents when we were in Haiti, near the airport. We had a couple of field tents there, and it was the Minister of Health. She came walking by, and I was like, I was in military uniform. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and escort her over to the ambassador so she can meet the ambassador, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I just got to say, hey, bonjour, blah, 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 so on and so forth. I got starstruck. And because I got starstruck, I forgot how to speak Creole. So then, just like how I said earlier, I was just like, oh, pardon, langbenlu, pardon, I said all this other stuff. And then she looked at me in English. She was like, that's okay, my dear. I speak multiple languages. You can speak English with me. And I was just, I didn't want. I was just like, oh my gosh. And but we do have capacity for us to speak multiple languages there.
Well, that's very nice. From that point on, we know Marvin has a family and is raising kids, but you're also in business as well. So tell us a bit.
Yeah. So I'm in. So absolutely.
Speaking of which, the business in Boston, but what really brought you to Massachusetts?
So did the whole military thing, and then my last active duty tour was in Chicago.
Okay.
I went with my wife when I was down in DC, but we were both within the Northeast. Me in New York, and she was in the New England area. And I knew I was leaving. I knew I was leaving the Marine Corps active duty, but I wanted to find a job. So the job being a big thing in a civilian sector. My wife was like, "Hey, we find a job, we're going back to the Northeast." I was like, "Well, I like it here in Chicago." She's like, "No, you don't understand. If you find a job, we're going back to the Northeast." So I said, "Yes, ma'am. We're going back to the Northeast." And that's exactly what it was. It was more of the job opportunity, and my wife wanted to be closer to her family, closer to my family as well too, because we knew we want to have kids of our own. Yeah.
So this is how you guys get here into Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So how long have you been here altogether?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
How has it been so far?
It's been good. Having young kids and being near family, it's the greatest thing. My father-in-law, he lives about 45 minutes or so up in Newburyport. My mother-in-law, she lives in Connecticut near Hartford, and my parents, they're still in Long Island. So at a moment's notice, if there's an emergency or something needs to happen, they could drop in a dime. Versus if we're in Chicago, it'd be pretty tough. And we enjoy the Boston area. You know what I mean?
And whereas you don't even have to get into an airplane to circle them out.
Exactly.
Whereas in Chicago, it's going to be mandatory. It's a
Oh
must.
yeah. And there was no, and I didn't realize that, but in Chicago, there's no true Haitian presence there. People tell me, but it's all they say it was scattered about. Whereas like in the Northeast, in New York and Boston, you find it here. You find your essence here. So that's.
So
I
you
really
figure that
appreciate
so there's more presence in Massachusetts of Haitians than there is in Chicago. Don't let Eve Cajus hear about this because he knows the Chicago term very well.
Okay. Okay.
At times when you're entering certain territories, if you don't have people guiding you to the right path, you would not know of what's going on.
That's absolutely correct.
Your wife owns a business, and are you involved in it?
Yes. So my wife, she's an entrepreneur by heart and by trade. So she owns 2, 3 business. I keep losing count, but she has her primary. The first business that she has and she's been working on, it's a women in travel community. It's called Wonderful. So it's about promoting to women about being able to travel, and if you want to travel safely and solo, you could go ahead and do it. But how to best equip yourself, right? In order to do that, and they have they throw events all over the country. They throw events. They throw events in Europe. They have meetup groups all over the country. My wife has a huge conference every year, which is called Women in Travel Summit, WITS, and every year it takes place in a different area in the country. And I believe they're also trying to kick off WITS Europe. So she's very busy with that. Back in this past June, my wife and we decided to do something risky, which we thought was going to be, shake up our relationship too. But we decided to go into business with each other. We purchased a cafe, Ula Cafe, that's in Jamaica Plain. And it's been around since 2007, right? So we went in with a third business partner who has, restaurant experience and who's amazing. And yeah, we've been focused on that. So my wife, she's Portuguese. Our business partner, she's Cape Verdean. And me, being Haitian, we're just like, we're going to get all those fusion in there, and we're going to inject as much, Haitian, Portuguese, Cape Verdean food as much as we can. So it's been interesting so far. I guess we're going on 7 months.
7 months since
Yeah.
you get started. So this is nice. This is nice.
Yeah.
How is the pandemic affecting that? Is it
So the summertime was great because I think during the summertime people were like
outdoor?
and people were feeling a bit comfortable. Of course, wintertime, because it's winter, things could be slow. Omicron also playing a factor as well too. But we've been standing strong. We have such a great supporters within the neighborhood that loves coming out and purchasing. We've also had people that drive down from like New Hampshire that will come on down and get food as well too. So it's been good so far.
We're gonna wrap up, but you have joined the HAU.
Yep.
An opportunity for you also to talk about the TLCC.
Yeah.
How did you join, and how do you find the project of TLCC?
All right, I'm gonna be quick because I know I talk a lot. So I knew, especially coming back from Haiti, and just my whole background, I wanted to be really ingrained and focused in the Haitian community in Massachusetts. I needed to figure out a way how. On top of that too, I've always been interested in the story of Toussaint Louverture. Right, I'm right now reading the book Black Jacobin.
Jacobin Noir, which is the French version.
Yeah. So I'm reading that right now, and I'm just understanding a lot of this very complex man. And I've always said that it would be great if I know there's movies, but like a great big motion picture.
Well, and you know why they don't want to have this movie
Yes.
in the first place.
Yes, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
So long story short, finding about HAU and then Toussaint Louverture Culture Center, I felt like, hey, this is spot on. We live in a society where I feel that outside of the Haitian community, people are like, okay, Haiti, third world country, or developing country, a lot of issues with the politics, so on and so forth. But they don't know anything about our background and where we're from and where we're going to. And I think that's a very missing part. And what we've done, right? Not a lot of, I don't know of a lot of countries that's been able to, successfully execute a slave rebellion against, 3 superpowers, right?
I would say even more.
Yeah.
More than 3.
Yeah. So just think about that, and being able to have a center where, the next generation of Haitian leaders or whatnot could be able to come in, understand the culture, and not only that, but people outside the Haitian community could be able to understand the culture, be able to see the things that we go through, understand the language, understand the art, the beauty of it, our food. You know what I mean? We need something that could be our focal point, and that's why I've joined the focus on Toussaint Louverture Culture Center, and hopefully, I think you said it best at one point, we will see a stake on the ground or a flag on the ground where we can be like, yes, this is ours, and we expect people to come in and enjoy it.
We would certainly bring you some more details with that, because Marvin and I are working very hard. And my dream and expectations is to see the kickoff of the Toussaint Louverture by the end of this year. You can contribute. You can visit the website of hau.inc, org, I think that's what it is, and therefore be able to do that. We are seeking for, I don't know, I threw this up last night. I think Marvin was just, this is a shocker. But if we can find 1,000 Haitians, is that right? What I said? 1,000 Haitians who's willing this year to put in $1,000, that will help us to really kick off this great movement of the TLCC. The Toussaint Louverture is going to be for the sons and daughters of Haiti, to showcasing who we are, what we have done, and where we intend to go. Because no one is going to tell the story for you unless you take the positions of doing it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Pleasure having you here, young man.
Thank
and I'll
you so
tell you one
much. I
thing,
really
this is the
appreciate it.
first, and I'm hoping that parents who are out there see the light as far as what the Army has done and brought it to you. We will have you back some other time, because we need to come back here and talk to these folks about this project.
I'm looking forward
TLCC.
to it. Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much.
C'était un plaisir, mesdames et messieurs, pour nous gagner Marvin Mathelier ensemble avec nous. Nous comprendre que langue nan lou, c'est ça que nous va traiter dans créole là. We want to thank you for watching. Jean-Claude Sanon will always be there with that smile, trying to bring you the best days in the city. Thank you so much. Take care.
Avant-garde. Nous devons toujours à l'avant-garde. Pour ou même qu'à l'avant-garde, consultez Jean-Claude Sanon n'importe qui est dans 617 839 71 91. Toujours à l'avant-garde avec Jean-Claude Sanon, nous offrons tout service immigration avec accident. Nous remplissons toute forme, nous mettons en forme. L'aide pour toute occasion ou circonstance, interprétation médicale légale, qu'un docteur dans l'hôpital, qu'un avocat dans le tribunal, sans compter immigration, traduction toute qualité papier, certificat, acte de naissance, de mariage, de décès.
Service de traduction, c'est même joie. L'aide pour demande de visa devant ambassade, discours, docteur public, officier d'état civil pour marier ou.
real estate, vendre à acheter caille, mettre cérémonie pour toute occasion, c'est Jean-Claude Sanon, non affilié à un bureau avocat en Haïti qui travaille serré à Archives nationales et tribunal. Service vite passé vent pour jugement acte de naissance tardive, acte de naissance tenant lieu, acte de décès, acte de divorce. Nous fait divorce tout sans qu'on pas besoin de payer ticket pour Haïti. Acte d'adoption, acte de mariage, civil ou religieux, extrait acte de naissance et de mariage, rapido presto, bon bagage sans problème devant immigration reconnue par l'État haïtien. Sans faux pas, consultez Avant-Garde. Jean-Claude Sanon dans 617 839 71 91.
Nous opérons seulement sur rendez-vous dans
Nouveau local, numéro 11 Rexford Street, Mattapan, Mass.
mes amis, mais James, il était étonné pour l'apprendre que tension li gros. Ça qui a fait il fait tension. Qui donc, il était parlé avec docteur au sujet d'un chimien qui bon pour santé pour le baisser tension. Il était suspend fumer, ça qui fait une grosse différence dans le genre qu'elle bat en général. Il diminue quantité sel tout et puis si veille étiquette sous manger qui indique grosse quantité sel. En plus de ça, il marche 30 minutes 5 fois par semaine régulièrement. Tout bagage ça qui bon pour santé, pas de facile. Même baisser tension, t'es vos efforts si là. Joindre plus d'informations concernant chimien qui bon pour santé ça, pour joindre aide pour casser suspend fumer, relais 1 800 784 86 69.